worth to YouTube. Just want to let people know out there that are too brain dead to understand it, and that are really gullible, or maybe just those who are new to breaking out of the current paradigm of thought and the current system of indoctrination. Those people can at least be forgiven because they're new to thinking outside the box and thinking outside their lifetime of cradle to grave programming. But YouTube channels that are constantly, almost on a daily basis, once per podcast, claiming that they're about to be shut down at any moment because they're so anti-establishment and the establishment is persecuting them, and they're at any moment either going to be assassinated or their channel is going to be shut down, or they're going to be driven crazy and put in a mental institution, or whatever would really happen if the powers that be didn't want you talking about what you're talking about, and you had actual real information that was a revelation that no one actually has heard of yet, instead of all of the supposed truth channels that are just repeating. They're listening to each other and parroting back what they hear from each other. One person did a little bit of research a few years ago. He never had a podcast. His name is Truman, and they all stole all of his research or something, and then they went on YouTube and started repeating his research back and forth. And then they all sit there, but they do it with like a truth-lie mixture. They repeat some of the research back, but then they come to wrong conclusions to throw people off. And it's always those shill websites, those propaganda and misinformation and disinformation websites that are the ones claiming that they're being persecuted. That any moment their channel is going to be shut down. Maybe even it goes to the point where they actually get their channel shut down deliberately by YouTube, and like whatever alphabet agency is controlling their channel, or whatever alphabet agency they work for, they do a psychological operation to make people think that they're being persecuted by actually shutting their channel down for a little while. And then they pop up with another mirror channel. They just happen to have they happen to have the time and resources to upload all of the videos that they once had onto a whole new channel. Because they don't apparently have jobs at all. Nobody works. All these YouTube personalities get so much YouTube advertising money, and a lot of them don't even have any money. They don't even monetize their channels. But somehow they're able to pop up the very next day with a whole other channel with all of their videos uploaded. Like they've got, terabits of bandwidth somehow. And they can upload 750 videos in one day or something. But yeah, when a channel gets shut down and comes back up again in a month after having a mirror channel, and then the regular channel comes back again, that means that YouTube really isn't persecuting them, because YouTube has computers, and they can crawl through all of the usernames and find the username that they need to flag and shut down again. If they really wanted you shut down, and they were shutting you down because they were persecuting you because you're actually revealing things that have never been revealed before, that they don't want revealed, then they would shut you down permanently. They wouldn't have your channel come back up again. And then if you started a new channel, they'd block that channel too. And then so they wouldn't keep letting you. That's completely ridiculous. And so there's probably a couple of channels that have been shut down that it can pop back up again, because they can't really completely control everything. But I just know that when I hear channels that I can recognize as truth-error mixtures, truth-lie mixtures, 80%, truth, and then the crucial 20% lies, or the whole purpose of the podcast might be true, but it's for the purpose of scapegoating a cult of personality, or some appeal to some logical fallacy that they're using, that they're peddling this information by. And if you recognize it as that, and then their channel gets shut down and pops back up, you know that they're not being persecuted. But they're going to say they're being persecuted, because that's how they get street cred. That's how everyone believes that they're actually a legitimate, radical truther channel that's on the cutting edge of the grand revelation and the seventh seal being opened, and Gabriel blowing his horn, and the four horsemen coming of the apocalypse coming, and starting the Battle of Armageddon and clearing all the shit out so that the city of gold can emerge. Again, no, they're not doing that. So they're not Gabriel blowing his horn. They're a bunch of fucking shills working for some alphabet agency. Also, there's a bunch of people on YouTube that are using the age-old scam that, like, the people like Alex Jones that say the New World Order is coming at any moment. Any day now, the New World Order. That's what they were saying before. Now not that many people say that anymore because it's ridiculous. Because everybody knows that there already is a New World Order. There's our rights and our culture and everything is being totally degraded. I mean, look at the music and the movies and just the mass pop culture in general is the most retarded it's ever been. So I don't see how this is actually a good order that will be lamenting if we lose it. You know what I mean? It's already a shitty order right now. Whether it's old or new, it's a shitty order right now. The world order is fucking shit. So whether it's old or new doesn't matter. So they're telling you that at any moment, they're going to come out on TV and announce that there's a new world order. No, they're slowly, massaging culture into a degraded, debased, moronic group of people that are completely being enslaved and then will be totally enslaved and appreciate their slavery and will be part of like a giant hive mind eventually, and no one will have an original thought, and all of their lives will be like complete mind control grid from cradle to grave, like a mind controlled dragnet that teaches every single thought and action that everyone performs will be mind controlled from cradle to grave. And that is coming, but it's going to be slow, and it's not going to have a name, and there's not going to be a grand announcement one day. It's just going to slowly be, the society is going to be slowly sculpted into that reality. So be on the lookout for it. So there's also there's using the same technique, saying that it's going to happen any day now. There's these people online saying that white Europeans are being persecuted, and any day now they're going to make it a crime for a hate crime for white Europeans to organize. Because Jews can organize and blacks can organize, and the Southern Poverty Law Center is going to start pushing for legislation that bans white Europeans from organizing. It's like, okay, yeah, so white Europeans are now being persecuted because of social justice warriors, and white European culture is at risk in America and in Europe. And meanwhile, you have the Knights of Malta, the Knights of Columbus, Kiwanis, fucking, VFW, the Freemasons, on the Shriners, on and on and on and on and on, of groups of white European people that are organized, and that actually run the cities, and that run all of the investment portfolios of all of the districts and towns and townships and cities and states and the federal government. Like all of those people who are actually the city managers and mayors and some city council people who are in on the comprehensive annual financial report. If you've never heard of it, it's the actual full audit of every government in the United States and district in the United States. They're all for profit, and they're all corporate. And they're all running constant surpluses of income. So, yeah, those people are very organized, and a lot of them, the vast majority of them, are white Europeans. I don't know if you realize that, but look at any city council in the fucking United States, and the vast majority of the people that are running the city councils and the city managers and all those people are white Europeans. So what these people are talking about is a complete red herring to cover up the fact that it's not white Europeans, and there's really no racial gaps, except overtly. Of course, there are a couple races that I can think of in America that are underrepresented economically, and that's black people and Hispanic people. But that has a lot more to do with class than race, because they just are not educated because of the cycles of poverty that they've been through over the years. Jews, however, are a very small minority that are very hyper-educated, because they make sure that they educate themselves, because that's been pretty much all they have, is like just immersing themselves in books constantly so that they can have any chance at all at being superior. And then there's you know, there's Asians, and you know, they have a pretty rigorous education system as well, so they're not really economically downtrodden as a class necessarily. I mean, as a race, but as a class, all poor people are definitely have always been discouraged from organizing, because the people that are running the corporations that run the United States and that run the world don't want people meddling in their mafia affairs. There's a big mafia that runs the world, and they don't want poor people that are uneducated, that don't have any rudimentary knowledge of economics or foreign policy or local policy or, you know, civil engineering or anything like that that has to do with any important planning of life on Earth. They don't want poor people doing that. So that's the risk. It's not has nothing to do with being a white European. It's if you're poor and you're not part of an alphabet agency, and you're not part of the secret society that has its tendrils all across America, that is like a separate race of people. They might be different colors, but they're like a whole separate class of people that don't interbreed with everybody else, and they're completely separate, and they run everything. And they don't want the other class of people organizing. That's who they don't want organizing. So, but it's a complete red herring, and there's red herrings all over the internet, obviously. But you have to be careful about, you know, number one, people saying that white Europeans are being persecuted because of SJWs. Number two, you have to worry about people bragging about their YouTube channel being shut down. You need to worry about people talking about any day there's going to be martial law and New World Order, because there already is martial law, by the way. There's been martial law since the Civil War. Since they declared martial law, and it was never rescinded, actually. So Lincoln apparently declared martial law, and it was never rescinded. Okay, so martial law has been in effect constantly. Then the Federal Emergency Management Act was passed in like 1935, and that extended the martial law. And so we are under maritime admiralty law, military law in the United States, and all of our law is based on contracts and commerce. And when you go to court, in a supposed criminal court, they're basically prosecuting you under military statutes and a military court with a military jurisdiction, because it's martial law. So it's already, the Constitution doesn't apply to people outside of the original 13 colonies. The Constitution is something only for employees of the United States government at this point, apparently. And that's why none of the circuit courts in the United States actually ever decide in anyone's favor when they bring up constitutional law. They just do what they want, and then someone has to go beyond the circuit court and file for certiorari through the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court very rarely grants certiorari to anybody anyway, so you don't have a remedy. So there is no remedy, there is no constitution, there never has been. It's a total fucking sham, you're a slave. Anybody claiming that the New World Order is coming any day now, and that they're being persecuted because they're lying to everybody, and that white Europeans are being persecuted, which is fucking totally retarded. Like, white Europeans run America and Europe, you fucking morons. The two most civilized parts of the world that have the most civilized infrastructures, you're saying that they're being persecuted. You're completely fucking retarded, and I can't even believe you can actually get away with saying that with a straight face, and actually people will listen to you and be like, oh, you got a good point there. Yeah, white Europeans really are being persecuted nowadays. You're fucking retarded. So, yeah, I'm not an SJW. I'm not saying whether any of this is right or wrong. I'm just saying that it's reality. So, and, you know, white people are not persecuted. Poor people are persecuted. Poor people are counted out of the system, you know. Walter Lippmann and Reinhold Niebuhr and other people from back in the fucking teens and 20s in the 20th century were calling people, you know, unwashed masses, and, you know, the what was it that Walter Lippmann had said about people, that they were, basically just way too stupid to be involved in politics, and they should definitely be distracted. And then Edward Bernays and all those people that had said that way back in the 20s had decided that once technology was starting to become revealed in society, they had tanks in World War I and all kinds of new armaments, and they knew that they had telegraphs. They started developing the radio, and they started developing anti-gravitics technology, and all kinds of very interesting things started happening in the 20s. So they knew that they had to reel people in and really separate the men from the boys. So they were overtly talking about that democracy was a risk, and that it was impossible, and that the dumb rabble at the bottom should not be involved in anything, because they're too stupid to care and too stupid to understand any of it. And whether that's true or not, there's still their motivation to this day. So they don't want poor people. If you have 50,000 subscribers and you haven't been shadow banned, and your shit's getting fucking thousands of views a day, you're not being persecuted by YouTube, because they definitely shadow ban people. Because people like me have been shadow banned for years, because people don't want what I'm saying, because I cut through all the bullshit and actually tell people the way it actually really is. You can look at the videos about the so-called podcasts about socialism and capitalism, and how that's a complete false dialectic that doesn't even exist. Neither of those things exist. They've never existed. Okay, there's always been a controlling class that has been controlling all the resources, and it's not a social way that they're doing it all. It's very antisocial. Again, but I'm not going to get into that again right now. So yeah, beware of all the people saying that they're being persecuted by YouTube, and their channels are going to be shut down at any moment, but their channels never get shut down. And beware of people saying a lot of things, but that's one of the things that I wanted to say right now. Oh, another thing to beware of is people using scapegoats, where they could be talking about systematic problems and revealing the systematic nature of a problem, but instead they attach a cult of personality to the problem, and then endlessly analyze the cult of personality and his involvement in the problem, when that's a completely insignificant part of what is affecting humanity as a whole, and what has an effect on everybody as a whole. Scapegoats are not important. The system for which they're taking the fall is the important thing. I'm not sure if you morons realize that yet, but anytime people start talking about individuals in the mainstream media, or individuals in politics, or individuals in Hollywood being, somehow at some other individual's throat, or there's there's Comey against Trump, or Hillary, the Clintons against the possible Clintons against the FBI. It's just complete fucking horseshit. There's a gigantic group of people